Good evening. I'm Josh Hager, President of the Bismarck School Board. It's 5:30 on a Thursday, May 28th. I call this meeting to order. Full house tonight, so welcome to those of you who are joining us, both here and also online. You can find our agenda and follow along online under the School Board tab at bismarckschools.org. Dr. Scher, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hager,
Here.
Mr. Eastgate, Mr. Lee,
Here.
Mrs. Peterson,
Here.
Ms. Presky.
Here.
Mr. Eastgate was unable to join us tonight. Dr. Fosnot, Pledge of Allegiance.
Pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1C is the BPS mission, vision, and values. The BPS mission is to empower every learner to thrive. The BPS vision states, together, our relationships build inclusive, collaborative, and innovative environments that create agency and inspire a passion for learning, excellence, and discovery. The BPS visions are inclusion, excellence, innovation, and leadership. You'll also find a link in the agenda to the BPS strategic plan. Item 2 is to adopt the agenda.
I'll move that we adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Dr. Scher.
Lee,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Presky,
Yes.
Hager.
Yes. Item 3, focus on success. So we have 2 focus on success tonight. This is always a fun night, and focus on success is my favorite segment. So it's fun to have 2 of these. Dr. Fosnot, turn it over to you.
I think we're going to let LDI come up and do the introductions. I thought we were going to head to Dr. Johnson, but he pointed right to you.
Yeah.
So you got it tonight. So welcome to the podium.
Thank you. I'm Courtney Crane with Learning Design and Innovation Team, and I'm here to welcome Sheila Peterson and Jake Langang from Wachter Middle School and Legacy High School. Unfortunately, Sarah Bohr was unable to join us, but she is a very integral part in this work. So just know that she has her hands on all of this as well.
How are you guys? Good? Oh, good. Where do I look for? Oh, perfect. Awesome. I was like, wait, where's my notes? First of all, I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to be up here tonight and just share what our kids have been doing. And again, I'm sorry Sarah isn't able to be here because without her, we don't have what we do. And I'm excited to share everything that we're gonna put in front of you today. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Oh, I've got the clicker. If you know anything about my teacher of the year, the clicker was an issue. So, I wish Sarah could be here to share this, but she just talked about, she wrote something up for you, and she just said in December of 2014, the CHS special education teachers, administrators, parents sat down and discussed better ways to support all students. And she's written this very beautiful thing, but I actually want to tell the story that she told me between her and Roxanne at the Cheesecake Factory in Washington, D.C., because we were invited to share what we were doing in Bismarck Public Schools at a national convention in Washington, D.C. And so what I did not know about anything with peer-to-peer was that it really started at a pep rally one day. And there was Sarah, and she was doing a wonderful job, and she had all of her students lined up, and they were sitting watching the pep rally. And if you know Roxanne Romanic at all, she's quite a phenomenal human being. And she walked over to Sarah, and if she's ever taught you anything, she does it in the most gentle and graceful ways. And she said, Sarah, do you see anything here? And Sarah's like, yeah, we got a pep rally. Isn't this exciting, And she's like, but let's look where everybody's sitting. And Sarah said this big light bulb just came on. Kids are supported. We all loved our kids. Our kids had all great opportunities. But we had this here's this group of kids, and then here's this group of kids. And the vision was, how do we have this group of kids? And so that's really where they started. And it was a beautiful thing. It wasn't just a school initiative. It was, a parent and a school partnership. And so from there, I have the clicker. So from there they met parents, teachers, community members, administration, and they started talking about what are the things that we want our kids to know. So what are we going to teach our students? How are we going to structure the program? They didn't want it just to be a component where it was an only in school component. They wanted it to be something that was just in our blood and what we do all the time. we wanted our kids not to just, and by we, I say them because they started this beautiful thing. They wanted it not just to be something from 8 to 3, but that's something that you saw at the pep rally, something that you saw at the WDA game, something that you saw at the band concert, somebody you saw out at the yogurt shop getting some yogurt. Teenagers being teenagers, kids being kids. That's really the goal of what they wanted. And so from there, they built a pillar 3, which was the extracurricular activities, and I think Jake's going to speak a lot about that in a little bit here. I'm talking fast because I like to say a lot of things, and they said I only have 10 minutes. So when we started sitting down to make this presentation, what came to mind for me was where did we start and where are we now? I know at May 9th, 4 years ago, Lee Ziegler called me into his office and said, hey, do you want to teach this class? If you know May 9th in teacher's brain, like it's almost time for it to be done, right? We happened to have a track meet get canceled, and I said, Lee, can I use my day-to-day to go over to Century and watch what they're doing, go over to Mandan, watch what they're doing, and learn from there? And he said, sure. Within that 24 hours of time, I had everything I needed to get started because the fabulous programs around here, the philosophy is that what's good for my kid is good for the kid on the other side. I'm Southside ride or die all day, right? But I want the kids on every angle of the town and side of the town to have a good experience at school no matter who they are. And I really believe I learned so much from talking to Maggie and Mandan and Sarah just about that. Like they opened their doors, they gave me everything that they had. But if you look at this picture, you see everybody fits in this one little tiny frame, right? So that was where we started. The top picture is the very first buddy walk that Century attended. And then you look down here, and this is where we are today. That's Century, that's BHS, that's Legacy, that's Horizon, that's Simley, that's Wachter, that's, anybody who wants to command in, everybody's coming over. So you can just see how rapidly that this has grown. Sarah's been doing this for 10 years. I'm going to start my 5th year next year, and it's crazy to me. So I always think spheres of influence are important, right? And so you can see it started at Century, went out to our middle schools. Now it's out to 4 of our elementary schools and just continuing to build momentum. I think sometimes people are afraid to do hard things or you're afraid you'll screw it up, right? And one thing that Sarah did beautifully with this program, and I think Jake could probably echo this, is that you do it anyways, right? And so she just led us really well through this process and did it all with very little fear. Sometimes it's scary to do things like that. So how is that impacting our district at this point in time? Besides the incredible fun that we hope our kids are having, I know in my middle school, my 8th graders are getting trained with me 2 days a week, and then they're pushing out to classes 3 days a week. I get a phone call from an English teacher. Hey, so-and-so's having a bad day. Could you send Camden down to work with him? Because he's just not having it for me, but he'll sit down and work with her. So-and-so's having a hard time with his friend. I know they're supposed to be in class with you today. Can they come down and work with my kid instead? I've got kids that email me, hey, in art, they're doing clay. I know they're going to need a lot of help in clay. Is it okay if I go to class with them today instead of coming in and working with you? This is a 13-year-old kid. And you guys, if you've raised a 13-year-old kid, you know it's crazy that they're thinking that far ahead. And they're usually 8 steps ahead of me. At the high school level, we have interns in several of our high schools. I shouldn't say several because we don't have several, but in all of our high schools. And these interns are filling in just like an instructional assistant. They go down to the class. They work with students. A lot of times between our mentors and our interns, I know like when I go to schedule my next year's mentors and mentees, I start to look at what classes are they in when we have peer-to-peer. Can I partner them up when they're in a lab class? Can I make sure they got a mentor so that when they're doing a dissection, we have that extra set of eyes, ears, hands to help? But so that's kind of how it's been benefiting our district on that side of things. Some of the culture changes we've seen, we're pushing into general education classes. And so when we looked at, like, for example, Walker, how do you want to do your model? Right? Do you want it to just be a certain class and we go over here? And our idea was like, inclusion shouldn't be that you're included only in this room, right? We want to push out. We always talk about drops of water, when you talk about diffusion and all those types of things in science. And we always talk to our kids about like, I can give you each one little drop of water, and I'm going to say purple because water, right? But you put one little drop in, you make a little bit of change to the color of the water, right? But if everybody puts that little bit of drop of water, and we're going to have a solid purple gallon of water pretty soon here, right? And so we wanted our kids, the belief system for all of our schools is that our kids are out there making sure a kid shouldn't have to work hard to fit. We should figure out how to adapt the world to make sure everybody else fits. And that's the mentality we're teaching our kids. And so hopefully if you've been out in the public, you've seen it in our student sections in the high school. Hopefully that you've been in lunchrooms, you've seen things happening there. In our hallways, just hopefully kids have been a little bit more welcoming. And the funny thing is usually for me, I'll have a bunch of kids that I think will be good mentors, and I'll see them as 7th graders go, hey, I think you'd be a great mentor, Jeff. And Jeff's like, I don't know. And then about Christmas time, Jeff's like, hey, Miss Peterson, do you think, I think I really want to do that. And it's not because of me, it's because one of their friends were doing it. So we always talk about the Kevin Bacon game and like how you have influence on another person, right? And so everybody has the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon in their life. So if you get 3 friends in your life to see what's going on here and see if this is amazing, and they get another 3 friends and another 3 friends. I'm not a mathematician, but we know about exponential growth and the cool things that could happen, right? So that's kind of what we've seen really quickly in 4 years at my school, and then 10 years overall in the district. So at Wachter Middle School, for example, we started my very first year. We had 30 kids the total year. We were only going to have 15 for the year, and we ended up doubling by half by semester time. Currently at my school, last year I had 100 mentors. So, and that's in 4 years' time that we've, just continued to grow and grow and grow. And then that's allowed us to branch out, like who do we have as mentors? Because some kids have diagnosed disabilities, some kids don't. But to be able to seek out where a kid has a need and be able to match them and meet that need there is huge to have that opportunity. We started with 1 school, now we have 8 schools, right? She started with, it looked like maybe 30 kids as well. We're at over 800 kids in 10 years have experienced this program. And then we've been able to branch out to unified sports. Some of the things our kids work on, not just inclusion, we do service projects at all of our schools. All of our kids do that, mentor and mentee, right? Because everybody's got value. We work on advocacy and advocating, and I love it because my students always come back and tell me when we're going to go on a field trip all the things I didn't think about. Like, did you think about this kid and what you're going to do with that? I'm like, oh, no, I didn't. So we're at the amusement park taking pictures, trying to figure out how we're going to do what we want to do. And then, of course, building leadership capacity, not only in the mentors, but also the mentees. I know all of our schools have had kids that started out as mentees and have ended as mentors as well.
Celebrate with me tonight.
All right, let's start.
Celebrate with me tonight.
It's the inclusive unified sports and unified PE world. Basically, a unified champion school is something that we signed an agreement for, I think 2 years ago at Legacy. And what that means is that we are focusing on inclusion in as many ways as possible. And in order to do that, you have to hit 3 pillars. Unified PE or unified sports has to be implemented into your school. Unified leadership, which is peer-to-peer, and then whole school engagement. Basically, everything Sheila said is what got us to this point. And now we're kind of trying to expand and, what else can we do with this awesome model that we have? And whole school engagement is one that I kind of want to focus on a little more, and one that we take pride in at Legacy. Is that video playing?
Oh, yeah, it's running on its own.
Okay. So in the video here, if it is playing, that was from our banquet that the Special Olympics came to and got some footage of. We were able to have a banquet of our unified sports athletes, and they got a trophy. We had a team dinner. They got recognized, and it was an experience that a lot of those kids might not have without unified sports to come up and have a night for them. And it was really cool. They're all dressed up in all their suit and ties, and it was a super fun experience. And so I wanted to share that video with you, but it looks like did it already play? Okay.
Celebrate with me tonight. Celebrate how we got time.
All right, so like I said, the whole school engagement really starts at the top. And here are some pictures of our principals participating in our whole school wiffle ball game. And this is an entire school activity where everyone's participating in a unified wiffle ball game. Now, this is during the day. The stands are full of other students that are, taking on a break or just want to come down. Some of the teachers took their class down to watch. And we only played for roughly an hour. But when your administration is leading the charge and out there helping and modeling inclusion in front of everybody, that's what shifted the whole school. And huge role models to be out there swinging in front of everybody. And so I appreciate that as far as a unified champion advocate. I think we wouldn't be where we're at without our admin, backing us up with everything that we're doing. And kind of to lead on to that, they allowed us to start a unified PE class. Now, a unified PE class is different than adaptive PE, and it's different than having a student with a disability in a general ed PE class. For an example, a student with a disability in a general PE class, they might be doing pickleball, and they may be off to the side. Yep, they're in the class, but they're off to the side, maybe with that student aid that we were talking about, or an instructional aid. And they are part of everything, but they're not really playing what everyone else is doing. In a unified PE class, we would be using a balloon, and everybody would be using a balloon. And so now everyone's playing the exact same game. Everyone's set up for success. And the way the class works is there are mentors that come in at a 1-to-1 ratio during that time. And the students with a disability, our ID kids come down, and we have about 25 kids in the class. We run that 4 days a week. And so not only are they out in the classrooms and getting physically active, but they're engaging with their friends. It's no different.
Can you do me a favor for those in the audience? Define ID for them.
Sorry, what was that?
Define ID for them. You and I know what ID is.
ID is for intellectual disabilities. Thank you. And so we're trying to expand on this as much as we can, right? So we have a unified PE class. This last year was our first year doing a unified science. So same format. We had a general ed teacher teaching the class who teaches all the other general ed students, but he took on a unified science class. So there's a picture of them in science. They're doing experiments. They just built kites on the last day of school and trying to fly them. And now they're in the classroom, right? They're in the hallways. And so kids are coming out of their classes at, hey, how was science? Where are you going? Oh, I'm going to science. And so that's the goal. And a unified champion school is really getting it's the heartbeat of Legacy right now. That's kind of what's driving everything. And whole school engagement, we're trying to get a bunch of activities, as many as we can. Ben Ensminger was our homecoming king. If anyone knows Ben, he's one of the most hardworking kids. And I think, not that is the whole reason, obviously, that he won, but for the student body to recognize, and vote, I think that's our goal. Unified sports, we had 40-plus students involved with wiffle ball, flag football, track, the bowling, and we tried to implement some basketball this year. I'll kind of get to that on the next slide. But peer-to-peer, our peer-to-peer started not with me. Before I got there, they had 7 students. And our peer-to-peer teachers at Legacy have grown that to 60-plus students in 10 years, very similar to the other schools around us. But unified PE is something that's possible if you have space, and I believe that unified PE should be in every single school. And without having that space for increased sections, it'd be awesome to be able to offer more types of unified PE. Right now, we only have one section, and that's due to gym space. And I'm sure a lot of the other schools aren't able to implement something like unified PE because they don't have space. There's a lot of kids in PE, and there's not a lot of room. So that would be one thing that would help us all get to being able to offer a unified PE class. Unified sports, I know as one of the unified coaches, we practice in the hallways, and our goal is to give the same opportunity to every one of our athletes as any other varsity athlete. But they've had to practice in the hallways, and I get it. There's a lot of teams that need space. But that's one thing that we don't believe is right, to have our kids in the hallways practicing while all the other students are getting that gym time. District-wide unified champion schools is something that we could do as a BPS district, and we would need over 50% of our schools, K through 12, to sign the agreement. And if we do get that, all of our schools get some sort of funding. I'm not exactly sure, but the Special Olympics would fund. I don't think they're going to buy us all a brand new gym, but I know they would help with some of the equipment necessary to start a unified PE class. And some of the unified sports help there. So there also is a program that runs ages 2 through 7, so it can go K through 12. And I know that we have a pretty good push for that, and that this is exactly what's happening when you sign that agreement. And so that's what I wanted to share, and I appreciate your time.
And I think just to add on Jake, what Jake was talking about, we currently have all 3 of our high schools have signed that agreement, and all 3 of our middle schools have signed that agreement. So now we just have to branch into the elementary level. And the funding source for that it tiers down. So like you get so much like we're in that agreement for 5 years. Your first year is, I think we got 2,000, and then every year it just kind of peters down a little bit. And so there's a lot of things with adding unified sports, the busing costs, costs and all the other things that go along with that. So if we can get that accomplished, that would be absolutely amazing. And then I think as you see that grow, the amount of kids that want to be in something, and you think about your own children and what sports have done for them and how they've changed their lives. I remember my daughter went to high school. We were hoping for a C average. We sat in her IEP meeting and made that decision about, are we going to do general math or are we going to get her into, freshman algebra? And thinking about, well, what if she wants to go to college someday? Not really knowing what our track was going to be, right? I remember looking at her case manager and going, you know what, if she does this and we get a C average, I'm going to be really happy with that. If she can get through all these and still have that ability, I'll be really happy with that. This last spring at state wrestling, unbeknownst to me, because bless my daughter's heart, but she's academic all state. Her name was up on the thing, and I was like, what? Oh my gosh. And I talked to a wrestling coach because he just retired last week, and I said, this isn't what we envisioned. And I know that impact of athletics, arts, music, all of those things that those kids do on the side and the way that it changes their lives. So to have this opportunity for every kid in our district is so important. So we always talk about kids these days, right? Kids these days don't want to mow the lawn. Kids these days don't want to make their bed. Kids these days. I want you to see kids these days. These are our kids. These are kids that are involved in a million different things. They still show up at night to do these other things. Not because they have to, because they want to. Kids start out my class, go, do I have to go Ms. Peterson, what if I said, you go when you want to go, man. You show up when it works for you. That's what this is supposed to be about. And to watch that change in them, right? That they want to be there and they're having so much fun with their friends. And like, hey, can we hang out outside of school? Yeah, that's the goal, man. They're like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah. I always tell people it's just about, we want kids just to be kids. Okay, I just want kids to be kids. I don't want you to be the kid who uses a wheelchair, and I want you to be the kid who's the varsity athlete. I don't want you to be the kid who's really good at art. I want kids just to be good, be kids and enjoy each other. So just wanted to share that with you guys, and we're so grateful. We did have, that's me. Okay. These comments come from a doctoral study from Jordan Bentz. Jordan Bentz was in the very first class of peer-to-peer at Century High School. And she just passed her PhD approval. And she runs a TAP program at NDSU that helps assist students to be able to have that college experience just like every other kid too. So you want to talk about full circle and how this is impacting our district in 10 years to go from a high school senior to a PhD who now runs something that continues to change lives for people after high school. So I don't have anything else to say, but a couple of things. Sorry, you're like, oh, I thought she was going to be quiet. I have a parent letter. The parent asked that I would read it. Dallas Hinder just wanted to say, our family would like to, if you know Riker Hinder at all. Okay, you do. Right. Our family would like to extend our sincere gratitude to you and Bismarck Public Schools for the incredible support and opportunities provided through inclusive sports. Watching our son Riker participate in flag football, bowling, wiffle ball, and track and field has meant more to our family than words can fully express. These experiences have provided him with confidence, friendship, teamwork, and a true sense of belonging. The joy and pride he feels when competing alongside his peers is something we will always cherish. We are especially thankful for the dedication and encouragement from the administration, coaches, and the CHS peer-to-peer program. Your commitment to creating meaningful opportunities for all students demonstrates the very best of what education and community should be. The kindness, patience, and enthusiasm showed by everyone involved has made a lasting impact on Riker and our family. We'd also like to recognize and thank other inclusive teams from Legacy and Bismarck High School. The sportsmanship, encouragement, and friendship shared between all the athletes and programs have helped create an environment where every student feels valued and celebrated. Thank you for believing in inclusive sports and for continuing to provide opportunities that positively change the lives of students and families throughout our Bismarck community. With sincere appreciation, the Hinderer family. And one last thing to close. You gave me the mic, I'm sorry. Sarah would have shared this had she been able to be here. If you wonder how this is impacting the world, Sarah shared this with me, and it sometimes brings me to tears, so I'm going to read it. 2 years ago, Mr. Radler received a phone call from someone outside our school district asking to talk to him about what peer-to-peer is. She was a parent of a child with autism. Her and her child had been traveling, and while they were in the Minneapolis airport, when her and her child got separated. As you can imagine, she was so worried and stressing to find her child. Once she found her child was calm, communicating the best they could in a sensory space that was calming them. Her child was with someone who she did not know but was calm, communicating all of the things. She asked this person, who happened to be a high school student, how they knew how to communicate, calm their daughter down. And the student went on to talk about how they were in a class called peer-to-peer leadership and explained what this class was, what they learned, and how it changed their culture. This mom then shared with Mr. Mather that she was now considering looking into jobs that would be able to bring her to Bismarck so that her child would be able to have a peer-to-peer experience. Thank you. Do you guys have questions? Do we get to stop now? Yeah.
Thank you. Board members, questions coming? Mr. Lee?
Thank you, President Hager. More of a comment. Thank you, Ms. Peterson, Mr. Langang, for being here tonight and for everything you do. He brought up two people at the end there, Mr. Hinder and Ms. Bohr, who, when they presented to the board, I think it was 9 years ago when this was just rolling out, I don't think any of us on the board had any idea how big this was going to be or the impact it would have on not just those mentees, but the mentors as well. And I've seen it in the life of my kids and a lot of BPS kids in going to many of those inclusive sports, United Sounds, a lot of those events. I just haven't been, I couldn't be more proud of our kids and how it's not just inclusive, it's almost overly inclusive. I mean, they're just all wrapped around them. There's no doubt my nephew Riker is leaving BPS feeling loved and supported and part of a community. I actually worry about him next year because it's going to be a big void in his life. But it's been so incredible in the life of our family, and to see it in our kids is just amazing. So thank you for everything you guys do.
Mrs. Peterson?
Thanks. I have one question, and I don't know if this question is for you, Sheila, or if it is for the administration, but obviously you talked a little bit about funding, and that's a need, but I wondered just like what in general, other than maybe the funding, the resources, what is maybe stopping those other elementary schools for not participating either in the peer-to-peer program or signing that other commitment? And if so, just kind of want to know what some of those barriers are as we think through and in our future planning as well.
Yeah, I think one thing is obviously space. I mean, like, I just sat down today and was trying to start scheduling next year, and I'm already emailing Dallas, like, can we have a gym on? And I'm trying to think, like, when will there not be games? When will there not be a concert? When will there not, all the things that happen in our gyms it's amazing, right? And in my Teacher of the Year, I've been so proud of everywhere I've gone, I've, like, never left going, man, I wish I taught there. Do you know what I mean? I've always been like, wow, our district is great. I'm super proud of what we do here. So that would be one thing. I think that sometimes the funding can be an issue because I know, we have parents who are generous donors. We have people in town who have donated to us. Special Olympics signing that agreement have helped us. I think there was a little bit wait, you're really going to give me this money and I just have to sign this agreement. So I think there's a little bit of nervousness when we entered into it, and we sat down and met with Special Olympics and really looked at the checklist. I'm like, we're doing all of these things already, you guys. There's nothing to be afraid of. We're, there's no extra work for us, but I think the elementary hasn't quite fully entered this, so they don't realize that, and it's kind of a little scary. But I think when you talk about space where we have got blast programs going on and all the other things, where are you going to do this? The next thing I would say, and I don't want to be in trouble, sorry, but if you think about the amount of hours, I don't know, Jake, you could probably speak to this too, but the amount of hours that are done for free. So, and we don't mind because all of us have a heart and a passion, but I also don't teach special education. So I think about you see me in the front of the scene, but you don't see behind the scene all the special education teachers and instructional assistants that it takes to make all of the events go. So I know on a Sunday night I know I can find my special education teacher that I work very closely with at Wachter Middle School doing work. And then I might ask her to come in on Monday night to help me at the peer-to-peer night, right? Or the instructional assistant who's much more of an expert on that child than I could ever imagine. They know that kid inside out, upside down, and every which way, right? And so these programs don't work with all of those people. So how do you make sure that you're able to pay that instructional assistant to come in, for their time? And I will tell you 90% of the time they come in for free. I would be willing to guess at least 20 to 25 hours of free work by people who make a lot less money than I do. But again, I don't mean to open a can of worms here. I respectfully do not want to, but you asked the question. So, so I think that those are some of the barriers, and realistically, like the amount of time that goes into this program, because you can't just do it halfway. If this is something that you love to do, you spend a lot of time. I don't know what you spend, but I spend so my kids know, if your kids have had me for peer-to-peer, they know that they got to have their stuff in by Vikings on Sunday morning. But from 8 to noon, I go to church on Wednesday, but from 8 to noon is peer-to-peer for sure, and then at least a couple of nights a week, just, coordinating all the things. Then you start talking about busing. All of our administrators have been amazing in supporting us, so this is not a complaint at all. But it comes down to a point where we can go do these events, but like in middle school, especially because kids can't drive, we really do need to do them during the day so that every kid has accessibility to this amazing experience, right? But then if I'm taking these kids to all these experiences, I had 3 community service projects that we were able to go out and do. I had this, I had that. But then it's like, okay, but then what other student in my building doesn't go on a field trip because we're, so you're looking for money in all the places you can find it. And I know that that's just the nature of the beast with the funding formula and all of those things. It's not really your guys' fault either, right? Like, we're very well supported by you guys. We say, hey, we want to do something crazy. You guys are like, yes, go do it. You support us fully, but nobody has a money tree or buckets of money. I hear that a lot. There's not a magical bucket of money somewhere. We wish there was, but I think that a lot of times that's the big barrier. Figuring out how to get the right people in the right places. Our special educators in our district are phenomenal, but have so much on their plate. When you look at the numbers that everybody's case managing, right? And they love, I truly don't think I've met any one of them that does not love every kid that they work with all of their heart. I know in our school system, and I think Jake's and some of them, what we've done in our peer-to-peer is we've partnered like a PE teacher with that program. So all my special education experts in my building, they lift me, they tell me what to do, they tell me where to go, how to do things, and be real successful. I do a lot of the planning and getting the people organized to take that off of their plate. But when you get to the elementary level, if the expectation is that those are going to be the people that are going to run the peer-to-peer program, which their heart and soul 100% would be into and would love to do, you're also asking them, they're managing however many IEPs, and maybe they have their own children at home, right? And they have all of the things going on, and I don't think it's realistic to put that all on their plate. I said it really fast, though. That was a lot.
You said that really well. You're a
Yeah.
future administrator.
No. No, thank you.
I think to answer your question, Ms. Peterson's exactly right. We talk about it all the time. Dollars, you spend them once, or you only can spend them once. So it's about choice, right? But I would tell you, you see it here. We all see it. If you go out in schools, you feel the work that they're doing. Okay, this is a good investment. So yes, when they've come to us like, yep, we can help you. How can we make it work? Let's make good choices. I would tell you, you already have 4 schools that are in it. They're trying, right? When Sheila went to Century to see it, it was a similar schedule and a model so they could copy it, replicate it. That's why you've seen it in secondary. Once we have some elementary schools say, how can we do this in a school setting, in a school schedule, during the school day, make it operational, I think you'll see more schools buy into that. But it takes someone being the first one. It takes some people being pioneers, so then we can copy.
Well, thank you guys for presenting. Ms. Peterson, I did have a son that had you for peer-to-peer, so I do know the deadlines that he was under at that time. Yeah. And as you kind of touched on too, the culture that has developed over time, I saw that from my son, and you referenced it outside of the school hours. I remember him going to a dance, and my son was very shy, and that was not his scene. But for that particular time, for his mentee, I'm going to go to the dance. He's going to be there. He's going to need somebody to be there with him. So the experience for him was amazing too. And then one thing too on Ms. Peterson's question too, and you touched on it as well, the spacing. And I know we're going to talk about it later on in the agenda, but the bond that we have out there, and we're talking about gym spacing. You guys touched on it, that it's space needed for our students to be able to expand these programs, and it does trickle down to the elementary schools when we're talking about adding multi-purpose rooms so we can get blast into different locations and adding space so we can do more of these things. So thank you guys for being here and presenting this. This was great. Thank you
so much.
Have a good summer, everybody.
Some more fun stuff. BPS Foundation scholarships. Dr. Frostnot.
I would like to introduce to the podium Ms. Talia Nygaard. She is our director of the BPS Foundation. Good evening, Talia.
Good evening, President Hager and members of the BPS board. My name is Talia Nygaard, and I am the Development Director for the Foundation. I'm excited to present the 2026 scholarships. At the heart of the Foundation's mission is providing opportunities that empower BPS learners to thrive. We are grateful for the partnerships that make these scholarships possible. The BPS Foundation introduced 3 new scholarships this year, including the Bobcat Company Scholarship. Through Bobcat's commitment to innovation, 10 $500 scholarships are being awarded to seniors pursuing careers in STEM, engineering, technology, manufacturing, and skilled trades. The Jan Andreessen and Milo Candy Scholarship was established in 2026 to honor Jan Candy's lifelong dedication to music education and student success. This is their second permanent endowment with the BPS Foundation. The Sharon Buren Memorial Scholarship honors Sharon's 22 years of service at the Adult Learning Center, where she inspired and supported adult learners. The scholarship awards $1,000 annually to a deserving graduate continuing their education. I'd now like to welcome our board president, Stacey Lang, to help with the certificate presentation. Sydney Beach, recipient of the CCU Avid and Milo and Jan Candy scholarships, attending UND for biology.
She's going to model what we're doing here tonight for everybody else, so just watch if you're coming up.
Ryan Brothers, ID Family Scholarship recipient, attending NDSU for accounting and finance. Sophie DePriest, Bobcat Company Scholarship recipient, attending NDSU for architecture. Logan Donnett, Wald Family Scholarship recipient, attending the University of Alabama for criminology. Alexander Eckroth, recipient of the BHS, Wald Family, and Bobcat Company scholarships, attending NDSU for computer science. Parker Fagich, Bobcat Company Scholarship recipient, attending NDSU for electrical engineering. Leah Fragoza, Sharon Buren Memorial Scholarship recipient, attending BSc for nursing. Kate Fries, ID Family Scholarship recipient, attending UND for business. Aaron Gorilakoshia, Roy Gilbreath Scholarship recipient, attending BSc. Hannah Gendron, Lincoln Community Club Scholarship recipient, attending Palm Beach Atlantic University for biology and pre-med. A special thank you to the Lincoln PTO for their support in providing an extra $500 for these awardees. Xavier Harrelstad, Senora B. Kind Scholarship recipient, attending the University of Mary for business. Colton Harris, recipient of the Neil Souther and Bobcat Company scholarships, attending the University of Michigan for electrical engineering. Abby Hegre, recipient of the J. Tosseth and Paul Cran scholarships, attending the University of Jamestown for exercise science. Elijah Hupel, recipient of the Jody Olheiser Memorial and Bobcat Company scholarships, attending UND for electrical engineering. Avery Hoyt, Jan Gilbertson Scholarship recipient, attending Concordia College. Grady Iverson, Bobcat Company Scholarship recipient, attending the University of Mary for mechanical engineering. Abigail Jablonski, Horizon Middle School Scholarship recipient. Riley Jalbert, recipient of the Keith and Phyllis Kepler Music and Roy Gilbreath Scholarships, attending NDSU for pharmacy. Cade Junt, Wald Family Scholarship recipient, attending the University of Alabama for psychology. Miriam Keita, LHS Scholarship recipient. Valerie Kuhn, recipient of the Jan Gilbertson and Jan Andreessen and Milo Candy Scholarships, attending UND for music education. Caden Labe, Roy Gilbreath Scholarship recipient, attending BSc for computer science. Jameson Lee, Dixon Whiteman Scholarship recipient, attending the University of Mary for finance. Lincoln Lamar, Bobcat Company Scholarship recipient, attending the University of Mary for civil engineering. Jillian Lima, Bobcat Company Scholarship recipient, attending Purdue University for industrial engineering. Anna Lamone, Diane Siegel Schlosser Scholarship recipient, attending the University of Minnesota for biology. Cambry Newmiller, ID Family Scholarship recipient, attending BSc for social work. Paige Noyce, CCU Avid Scholarship recipient, attending the University of Mary for radiologic technology. Quinn Roberson, recipient of the Bobcat Company, Pierre Louis Entrepreneurial, and BHS Scholarships, attending the University of Minnesota for mechanical engineering. Jordan Rood, recipient of the Gloria Sand and Roy Gilbreath Scholarships, attending BSc for sonography. Ursula Sawinska, Wald Family Scholarship recipient, attending UND for chemistry. Addison Schrock, recipient of the Roy Gilbreath and Ken Hendrickson Memorial Scholarships, attending BSc for nursing. Elizabeth Shue, recipient of the BHS and Paul and Marion Walsh Scholarships, attending UND for nursing. Madison Shue, Diane Siegel Schlosser Scholarship recipient, attending BSc for nursing. Cheyenne Simon, Miss B Memorial Scholarship recipient, attending the University of Mary for biology. Adeline Skoglund, Danny Thompson Scholarship recipient, attending NDSU for interior design. Anya Sutheimer, Don Prouty Memorial Scholarship recipient, attending Minnesota State University for early childhood education. Ryan Townsend, Lincoln Community Club Scholarship recipient, attending Valley City State University for biology. Maddie Vanderlinden, Roy Gilbreath Scholarship recipient, attending NDSU for business. Madison Vick, Lincoln Community Club Scholarship recipient, attending BSc for dental hygiene. Cambry Volk, David Blacksteed Memorial Scholarship recipient, attending the University of Mary for occupational therapy. Kate Volk, recipient of the ID Family, Renee Hoffman Walker Memorial, Rose Stoller, and Tom Hersford Scholarships, attending BSc for sociology. Nora Walker, Dixon Whiteman Scholarship recipient, attending James Madison University for intelligence analysis. Kapin Wardner, Century High School Scholarship recipient, attending Minot State for English education. Brinley Wittenberg, Legacy High School Scholarship recipient, attending the University of Mary for occupational performance. Jasmine Wong, Century High School Scholarship recipient, attending Colorado State University for biology. Emily Zahn, Lincoln Community Club Scholarship recipient, attending UND for elementary education. Congratulations to all of our awardees. This year, the BPS Foundation will award $73,000 in scholarships. We now invite awardees, families, and donors to join us for a reception at Starion Bank. Thank you and congratulations again.
Thank you, Talia. One of the things that always strikes me on this night when we do these scholarships is the names of the scholarships themselves, and you look at the community impact and folks that, see Mr. Kranz back there, folks that I've had for teachers or principals, Don Prouty, Tom Hesford, the Wold family who was my backyard neighbors growing up, and how they've set up these scholarships for the next generation, and how this community comes together, and you see it in these names. It's such a fun night. Mr. Lee.
Thank you, President Hager. I just have one comment because my son got this award tonight, but Dixon Whiteman was an incredible coach. He was my coach back at Hughes Junior High. We had junior highs back then. But the one who started funding that was Steve Burian, and he had another scholarship that he funded for his mother, who was just a sweet, sweet lady. But that just speaks to the community we have in Bismarck and how we support our students. Very proud of all of you, and thank you for being here tonight. And I think President Hager will probably release you to go to your event, but thank you.
I mean, you're always welcome to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll give you guys a moment to head off to the social. Congratulations. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, I do. It's waiting for me.
I'd sign that paper.
Yeah, I will.
All right, back to the agenda. Item 4 is public comment. The board recognizes the central role parents play in the education of their children and supports active parent involvement in the education process. The board's practice of public comment reflects and aligns with policy BCBA and the spirit of its intent. For classroom issues, it's best to follow the chain of command: teacher, principal, assistant superintendent, and superintendent. For district issues, please reach out to Dr. Fosnot. If you do speak tonight, we simply ask that you be responsible, be helpful, and be respectful of BPS students. Deserve to have adults model the expectations we have for them. Groups are urged to select one spokesperson. Individuals will be limited to no more than 4 minutes and will be notified with 30 seconds remaining to conclude their remarks. The board will not debate issues as presented, but will take such matters under advisement. With that, if you do wish to speak tonight, please stand and approach the podium. Okay, seeing no one, public comment is now closed. Item 5 is monitoring district operations. OE10 learning environment. Dr. Fosnot.
Yes, that was a wonderful start to a board meeting, even though we're well into it. So I'd like to introduce tonight Mr. Adam Christ, and I think, I was thinking Lindsay would be here, but you got it on your own, Mr. Christ.
Yes.
Tonight for OE10 learning environment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. President Hager, members of the board, thanks for having me tonight. I'm here to present OE10. So just wanted to hit on a few highlights in terms of what we accomplished in the, feels weird to say, 24-25 school year. Looking at this, so just on page 3, looking at some of our items maybe to pay attention to in there. One of the big changes we had this for this report this year for indicator 10.1.1 on pages 6 and 8 is instead of reporting scores by individual buildings, how we have always done it, we decided to do it more by division, thinking that would be a better indicator of how we're moving overall in terms. And so the data there is presented more as medians and or averages, depending on the context of the item within it. Based on the data looking through in the 24-25 school year, elementary stayed pretty consistent in terms of responses on how we're doing overall school-wide with behavior, while the secondary did see an increase in that median score. One thing that is I'm really proud of, I primarily work with our secondary buildings, Lindsay, Dirk, our elementary, but in meeting with our buildings every year, I'm astonished by the amount of continuous improvement mindsets they continually have, no matter how well they're doing in a certain area. And so they're constantly improving on and finding ways to either streamline, make more efficient, or increase in terms of services and supports we're providing for our students. Pages, maybe a new item on page 9, MTSS, or multi-tier systems of support. This year, we ended up doing a new visual. What we're trying to do as a district, we have our A, or academic side, and our B, our behavior side, and we're trying to do a more integration approach to it rather than be individual silos. And so our visual that we identified this year has those essential components that have been identified nationally and as a state, but then we also have in there what we do as a district to kind of meet within those individual components in there. So just wanted to highlight that. Would be a new change from the previous report. Pages 10 and 11 is our student survey data. And with that, we did see pretty consistent scores. However, we did see a little bit of a decrease in the engaging goals from the previous year. Again, going to our social emotional curriculum, all students are provided that curriculum, but we do have additional assessments that can be completed as part of that. And so we did see pretty consistent scores within the completion of those, but all buildings do have set aside time in their schedules for providing of that instruction. And lastly, just wanted to highlight that our scores are a little bit lower on completion of some of those policies. However, all staff that are with students consistently during the day do complete those modules that we have outlined there. But some of the support staff, like custodians, child nutrition staff, with the amount of kind of attrition we might have or throughout the year, it's hard to always get some of those staff completion of those modules, so that data would be a little bit lower. And then last thing, just pointing out on page 19, in terms of our capacity building, it's a little weird saying these are recommendations, even though we implemented most of them this year, but did engage in quite a few professional learning opportunities for our staff, just around general behavior. So you can see there some items of note are some de-escalation training we provide to all staff, and so that's varied in terms of job role, in terms of what that might look like. We do have some best practices in terms of implementing individual groups or small groups with some of our students who might be struggling. Really hit on some additional training with our special education teachers who support our students with emotional disabilities. Really had a lot of engagement with training with that. And then continuing to provide our new staff classroom management training, as well as some of our instructional coaches to help some of that as well. Some other things, we did expand Renew Ed into our elementary division, and so that was quite a bit of a help this year. Continuing to work on our continuum, as I mentioned, on our visual of having that alignment and integration of our academics and behavior together, so it's more streamlined. We engaged with a new data warehouse called Panorama this year, and so it was a lot of learning. But what's nice about that is it streamlines all the data in one place, and a lot of our staff, our teachers, social workers, counselors are reporting much better ease of looking at all the data and understanding what maybe how to help a student. With that, it does provide you some supports that are some potential you could utilize. And then one of the other big things is as we continue to increase some of our supports and systems. This year we are working on, there's a program called Check and Connect that we have decided to, rather than rely on outside individuals and pay for that, do a train the trainer model and have some of our staff train so they can train educators in that program. So I think that's all I have for OE10. I stand ready for any questions.
Thank you. Board members, questions, comments? Okay. Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, I would entertain a motion.
With respect to OE10 learning environment, I would move that we find it in compliance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Dr. Scher.
Lee,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Presky,
Yes.
Hager.
Yes. Item B is BSR 3, authority of the superintendent. So this will be our public reading of BSR 3. 4. Oh, I got a typo in here. Thank you. Yep. 4. BSR 4. The board will provide direction to the superintendent through written policy that define the organizational results to be achieved for students and define operational conditions and actions to be accomplished or avoided. 1. Board will develop results, policies instructing the superintendent to achieve defined results for the students served by the district. 2. The board will develop operational expectation policies which express the board's value of operational conditions and actions. Certain of these values will be expressed positively to assure that the stated actions occur and the identified conditions exist, and will be stated as directives. Certain other values represent actions and conditions that are to be avoided and will be stated prohibitively. As long as the 3, as long as the superintendent uses reasonable interpretation of the board's results and operational expectation policies, the superintendent is authorized to establish any additional district policies or regulations, make any decisions, establish any practices, and develop any activities the superintendent deems appropriate to achieve the board's result policies. The superintendent is not expected to seek board approval or authority for any such decisions falling within the superintendent's area of delegated authority. 4. The board may change its results and operational expectations policies, and in doing so, shift the boundary between board and superintendent area of responsibilities. The board will respect and support any reasonable interpretation of its policies by the superintendent, even though the superintendent decisions may not be the decisions of the board or its members may have made. With that, that concludes the reading of BSSR 4, authority of the superintendent. Ms. Presky.
I would move that we retain BSR4, authority of the superintendent.
I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Dr. Scher.
Peterson,
Yes.
Presky,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hager.
Yes. So it's a two-parter. Ms. Presky?
And I would move that we determine as in compliance.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Dr. Scher.
Presky,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Hager.
Yes. Item 6, matters reserved for board action. Board member school visits. I know we have a couple left that will probably hit at the June meeting. So with that, we go down to item 7, which is the consent agenda. What are the wishes of the board?
I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
I would second.
Motion and a second. Dr. Scher, roll.
Lee,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Presky,
Yes.
Hager.
Yes. Item 8, superintendent's report. Dr. Fosnot.
Wow, and I expected a couple good school reports tonight, but I totally respect why we moved those along as long as we've gone tonight. So I do have a few things, board members. The first one you have in your packet is is kind of a outline that Dr. Scher provided to me with the recommendation coming from Mrs. Wagner. I just want you to be aware that we have made a change in milk delivery contracts. Instead of using the outside contractor, we're now adding it operationally within the work that BPS does. You might say, well, why? Does that help, and how does that help us? Actually, we're having some real inconsistencies with milk delivery to the point that we're running a little short, and also significant damage to the product, which you'd say, well, okay, sometimes shipping, you damage a carton of milk or so, probably beyond what Ms. Wagner thinks is reasonable. And that does affect what we provide our kids. It does affect the quality of the product we're providing them in a lunch line. So leading into next year, and it saves us money, which is an added bonus for less dollars than we're paying now to contract that milk delivery. We will take one bulk delivery at our location, and then we will distribute to schools. And some people say, well, doesn't that cost money to deliver it? Yep, but we're already running trucks from our central warehouse to all the schools already. So now we just add a little capacity to that, a little bit of the load to get milk delivery there. And we're also going to be doing that for Mandan. Mandan would like to also get rid of that contract for similar reasons. So when we've spoken with them and Dr. Bitts, like, they're willing to reimburse us for some of the costs to do that, which offsets some of the difference, which I think is a win. Again, one of the benefits of centralizing some of that food processing and food distribution service, we can do it more efficiently, and we can do it with some surrounding neighbors. So in this case, we're kind of testing that out. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. That won't start till next year, but operationally making a little change for us in the food service program. Any questions on that one, I guess? Okay. I did, in your consent agenda, you approved changes to FGE 8, and you do this commonly when we have a new technology platform, a new vendor that's getting access to student or staff data. We add that in there. It's required by law that we list those and have those available for people to review. What I'm informing you of is a change in practice. Over the last year, we've seen an increased number, not just in Bismarck, but across the state and nationwide, of bad actors who are going after student data, and they're hacking platforms that schools use to, in essence, get part or some part or all of student data records, and then in essence they sell them back, they ransom them, the vendors are paying for them. And some of those that have been example as of this time last year was PowerSchool. That was a PowerSchool hack. Didn't affect us directly, but because all North Dakota schools are PowerSchool users, obviously it affected us secondarily. But just recently, we had a similar breach reported to us by McGraw-Hill. So my team, as we talked about it, Mr. Mueller, is like, well, we make this a little easy for the bad actors. Not that we have vulnerable systems, but we give them the list of people they should go after. We list all the vendors on our website of who they should go target. So we said, why are we doing that? Why are we making it easier for them? Not to say that they're using our list, but we said it just seems reasonable to take that list that you just approved, pull that off the public-facing website that we all see on the BPS website and all of our policies. Let's pull that off. If anybody in the community is listening and wants access to that, you just contact my office. We will get it to you. You are a person we know, we trust, you live in Bismarck. We will get you that list, but the bad actor who lives somewhere else can't just get it off of our website and access it. So just informing you that we're pulling that off the public-facing site, but we still have it available to any patron who wants it if they would ask, just have to ask for it. So just so you know. Okay. Last thing I have before I hand it over to Dr. Scher is the 2026 bond. Again, we've had this on every agenda, allowing people to kind of come up and ask questions. I would just tell you we continue to provide information. I was at an event on Wednesday. I'll be at an event on tomorrow, just being available to answer people's questions. I think we have done an outstanding job of providing factual information to the community. I think, as I said on Wednesday when we were, I was in front of the Romeo group, and I won't give the analogy of that because it's a bunch of wonderful, wonderful men that we got to speak in front of on Wednesday. But I think we're near 80 presentations that we've done across the community on radio, on TV. We continue to provide information. We did today on our website. We're expanding the FAQ almost weekly as we add more items to that. But we'll continue to inform people, address those questions, and get out the information best we can. And again, what I would say to everybody watching and to you, everybody in the audience, is do your civic duty. I was in a presentation or had an opportunity to hear Senator Dever speak on Wednesday, and he laid it out very well, that due to the wonderful anniversary of our wonderful nation and the work of becoming the United States of America, we should take upon ourselves the civic duty of going to vote. So go vote. Get out this week, get out next week. Wednesday, I think, is early voting, and up through June 9th. So I would stand for any questions that you have.
Not seen any.
Okay.
Dr. Scher.
Thank you, President Hager. Members of the board, in front of you, we have the financial report from the end of last month. And I'm not going to reiterate what I say normally, but things are trending on track and in a positive note for Bismarck Public Schools. I will say that, again, if the bond would pass, some of these things will self-correct with some of the maintenance dollars, that hopeful that'll free up money for other things like unified sports and inclusive sports. How'd you like that one? So, no, on a positive note, we're trending favorably, and I would answer any questions that the board would have on the financial report.
Board members, questions? Not seen any. Thanks, Dr. Scher. Brings us down to item 9, the executive session. I would look for a motion.
Wording. I would move that we enter into executive session pursuant to North Dakota Century Code, Section 4404, 19.1, subsection 9, for the purpose of discussing negotiating strategy and providing negotiating instructions to administration regarding a potential property acquisition.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Dr. Scher?
Yes.
Hager.
Yes. The board will now be entering executive session.